the most critical thing to look at, because the other things are they're substantive, but they're, as Mr. Levenberger points out, they basically expedite it and make it cheaper, and they're just logical things to do. Section 310 is a substantive matter, and it's a policy decision.
And we had a lot of discussion about that, about how to handle that. We at first we were going to just put a section in to ease some requirements on veterans. But then we talked about the fairness of that and were there legality issues with that. And really what was the, if a veteran didn't have Act 120, what's the difference between them and a regular high school graduate that doesn't have Act 120? Because the veteran already has an advantage if they pass a test. And that is they get the veteran's preference points. And if they get into the top 3, they're automatically hired. Unless they're up against another veteran, then you hire one of the two. So they get their, they have their advantage opportunities there. So there was a lot of discussion about do we just keep the Act 120? We mandate that they have Act 120 already before they applied. Here's where our problem turned into. Everybody that we threw out, I would say all but 2 of them had Act 120. So the people with the Act 120 certification, what they get for you is they get them on the streets faster. But as far as quality of candidate, our experience has been they're no better than anybody else. And with that reasoning, we decided keep the list or keep the available applicant opportunity as open as we could. The problem is the top 3 people, none of them could have Act 120, and it could be months before you get them on the road. You've been trying to get somebody on the road since before I started here, though. So that was our reasoning for it. Really, I think you guys, I think that's a good point from the solicitor that, don't just pass this carte blanche, but think about that, because there is an impact on how we treat people that are eligible to apply.
Mr. Barrett?
So that I'm sure I understand. So right now, they do not have to come in Act 120 certified.
They
Correct.
do not.
No, and
I'm sorry, in this or in our...
In the current.
In the current,
In the
right.
current, they do not.
Yeah, right. But in this new one, we're keeping that the same, correct?
We're keeping it the same.
Right, okay. I just want to make sure I understand.
All we did in the new one, so what we did in the new one was we just eliminated all the college. Credit requirements.
Right, okay.
Go ahead, Mr.
Sorry.
Barrett.
And how long, and you may not know this answer, have we had the college requirement? Or is that probably
That's
I
been
can
as long
tell
as
you,
long
it's
time.
been,
Okay.
that came in about 10 or 12 years ago, because I came to council at that time. I think there's other members of you in the audience who were on council at that time, and there was a very interesting discussion as to how, even whether to open it up to allow people with college degrees that were not Act 120 certified to apply. And the idea was, and I think the chief backed it back then, and I think he still does, that he thought, well, let's open it up so we look for the best person, because the best person may not be Act 120 certified. But it does take time. Now, I can tell you, I represent Salisbury, and they require Act 120. Catasauqua, on the other hand, has kept its academic requirements.
The challenge with the Act 120 requirement is this. It's great because if you make the hire, if you ever get to the point of hiring, they're ready to go on the street. They do the field training, boom, they're in. The challenge is, out of the 40 or so people that applied, I think 13 of them had Act 120. So, in our last hiring. So what that would have meant is we would have only had 13 people that could have applied for the job. And that's about the average you're going to see, is 13 to 20 rather than a field of 40 to 50. And at the rate that we've been throwing candidates out because they don't know how to behave when they're in college, or for that matter, a year ago, or for that matter,
The lie detector
three days before they even came in for the lie detector exam.
Yes.
That's as much of an issue.
Mr. Leibenberg.
If they are Act 120 and they are on the list, they don't move up any higher, but if they're there, they can just go right to work.
Right, you cannot give them any kind of preference.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt us
If they're in
any
the
way.
top 3 and they're not up against a
We still may have a
veteran.
120 that is number 1 or
That's right.
top 3, and we can have them
Correct.
go right
And
to
you
the
did.
force.
You 2 out of your top 3 last time were already Act 120 certified.
Right.
It just so happens that they had some serious issues.
Just one more comment. I appreciate the changes to allow more opportunity for veterans, because with their training and discipline, I feel that veterans are definitely a better hire because of their training.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that was we didn't want to skew it so far that only a veteran without a college education could apply. We felt that if we were going that far, then we probably needed to say anybody could apply if they have a GED.
Right.
But really, the discussion really focused around how do we allow these 4 or 5 guys and girls who fought in combat, how do we allow them to have the opportunity to work for our municipal police department?
Mr. Barrett.
And once, let's say they don't have the Act 120. We essentially do we don't actually hire them, but a conditional hire. Is that what
Correct.
we do?
Correct.
And then we do start paying, we pay for their Act 120 certification,
When
correct?
they're in class, yes.
But only if they did not, I mean, if all the polygraph, all those things are completely out of the way, so really the likelihood of them actually being hired is very high, correct?
All they have to do is pass the program.
Okay,
They do reimburse us.
they do.
So ultimately, the candidate ends up paying for it.
Okay, because I thought for some reason that was a law that had changed when okay, so that is not, so it's we're reimbursed, we pay it up front, but they reimburse us.
What happened was the Act 120 organization lost its funding, so they didn't have the money to pay us
Okay.
back. They used to pay that, but
Right,
we don't
that's what
get
I
it
thought.
OPEC
anymore.
always paid it.
Now,
Right, yeah, exactly.
I
That's-
am a little concerned that in our, I believe in our police contract, that we actually, they set for non-police officers, because you're not a police officer until you're sworn in. You can't get sworn in until you get through Act 120. So even if we go through all, but in that contract, they set their wages, which in the other communities, the wages are set by you.
Yeah, we can't do anything about that for a couple more years.
Right. I just want you to be aware of that so that when that comes up again in the future, that can be addressed.
Any further questions before we take any motions or actions on this? All right. Mr. Ladenburg.
Make a motion to read in short title. I'll skip the process of you saying it.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Anders. Discussion? All those in favor? We have 7 ayes. This is ordinance 1114, an ordinance repealing sections 351 through 356 of Chapter 1 of the Codified Ordinances involving the Civil Service Commission rules and regulations and adopting amended rules and regulations. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1114 as read? Motion by Mr. Ladenburg. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Anders. Discussion? This is a roll call vote. Mr. Ladenburg.
Aye.
Mr. Holzapher.
Aye.
Mr. Barrett.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Schuster.
Aye.
Mr. Anders.
Aye.
Mrs. Gilbert votes aye. Ordinance 1114 passes on first reading, and if we could schedule that for second reading?
We're going to try to expedite that for.
I just asked the manager.
Actually, I'm not going to need you to do when I have your last one.
Yeah, my last summary? Okay.
We're going to try to expedite that for your first meeting in November.
Thank you. All right. Unfinished business, part 2. We have nothing on the agenda this evening. Items not on the agenda subject to Rule 9. Any member of council have an item that they wish to bring forward? Hearing none. Mayor's report. Mr. Mayor.
Well, I don't really have anything, but I'm going to say about the Halloween parade. I can talk about that. That was a good parade, good security. As far as I know, very few incidents. Want to really thank Kathy Minster for working hard. She sure gets the people to donate, and other places too that also donate, because that's what makes it a success. And Emmaus loves a nighttime Halloween parade, so hope we can always keep that going. Progress.
Thank you. Committee reports, Public Works, Mr. Labenberg.
Yes, we met earlier this month and reported last meeting, so I will report progress.
Thank you. Health, Sanitation, and Conservation, Mr. Schuster.
Thank you. Our last meeting was October 16th. The notes are in your binder if anybody has any questions. Nothing for official action. Our next meeting is scheduled for November 20th at 4:30 p.m. I'll report progress.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation, Mr. Anders.
Yes, we met on October 7th, and I have one item for official action, and that would be the old-fashioned Christmas, the event to be held at the Triangle Park, and I would put that in the form of a motion to approve the old-fashioned Christmas at Triangle Park.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Schuster. Discussion. All those in favor? You have 7 ayes.
Besides that, you can review the notes. Nothing else for official action, and I'll report progress if
Thank
anyone
you.
has questions.
Thank you. Public Safety. In your binder is the copy of the Civil Service Rules and Regulations that Ordinance 1114 was referring to. We don't need any action on this part. Okay. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, November 5th. Report progress. General Administration, Mr. Barrett.
General Administration Committee met on October 15th at 9 a.m., and we have 3 items for official action. All 3 of them are appointments to some of our boards and authorities. The first is an appointment for Tina Rawls to the Library Board with a term expiring 1/1/2017, and I'll place that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Labenberg. Discussion?
I'll just add a comment
Mr. Barrett?
about the interviewee. It seems like a very passionate person, someone that originally grew up here, moved out of the area, and then came back. And just in her, I'll say interview, but just general conversation, she had some good ideas, and I think she'll be an excellent addition for the board.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? We have 7 ayes.
Our second appointment is David Cole to the Library Board with a term expiring 1/1/2016. And I'll place that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Labenberg. Discussion? Mr. Barrett?
Just a little bit about David also brought a similar perspective, a person that has used the library for quite a number of years. He is retired, so he felt he wanted to give back to the borough. He was a PPL employee for 41 years, and he also had some ideas. And actually, not that age matters at all. He was the older of the 2 candidates, but actually had some more thoughts on some of the technology side of things, which I thought was kind of interesting. So, which is something that I know I've brought up, and I think it's been echoed by others, is that the library obviously is an institution that is changing, and it should still be here, but how does it change? So someone that's going to think outside of the box to make it change and make it change effectively is important. So,
Mr. Labenberg?
He also attended a board meeting to see if he was interested, and after being to a board meeting, he was very excited.
Good.
Also, both appointments will be going to a meeting. Their meeting is tomorrow at noon, and we were going to notify him by phone call in the morning.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? We have 7 ayes.
And the final appointment is for the General Authority, Craig Neely, with the term expiring 1/1/2018.
And you're placing that in a form of a motion?
Yes, sorry.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Anders. Discussion?
I think everyone here knows Craig, so I won't go much further into that.
Yeah, that's great.
All those in favor? We have 7 ayes.
And that's really all we have. Progress.
Thank you. Budget and Finance, Mr. Holzapher.
Thank you. I only have one item for official action this evening, and that would be the bill list. I'll read the resolution. Resolution 2014-41, resolved by Borough Council to authorize payment of the October 2014 bill list as follows. Bill list, $648,798.95. Payroll number 21, $123,895.03. Payroll taxes of $41,956.32 for a total of $814,650.82. $1,000.30. Done this 20th of October 2014, and I'll make that into the form of a motion.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Shubsta. Discussion. All those in favor? We have 7 ayes.
Progress.
Thank you. Just a reminder, first budget workshop is next Tuesday. I believe it's scheduled at 4 o'clock. Mr. Pepe, is it 4 o'clock?
Yes.
Yay.
You want a
just got it.
reminder?
You just got it.
You just got it. Next Tuesday, 4 o'clock. It's sent. Uh-huh.
Progress, Mr. Holtsafer.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Community Relations, Planning and Development, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. Nothing for official action. We just, the committee was just candid. We spoke very candidly to one another about what the committee does, what we're there for, and the committee is looking to just kind of restructure and revisit some of the master plans that we've invested in the past years, from the downtown master plan to the south side master plan to any other master plan that you can think of. So in the next few months, we'll be discussing that and just kind of revisioning our purpose. Progress.
Thank you. Personal Appeals Part 2. Anyone with a personal appeal, please step forward, sign in, state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes. Hearing none. Borough Manager's Report, Mr. Pepe.
You received your budget binders and budget message and very preliminary budget on Friday. I gave you an electronic version of the information today. As President Gilbert said, the 28th is our first workshop. That'll be the workshop where the department managers come in and discuss their requests. So at the very least, please be prepared to discuss those items with them. So I would go through their sections of the binders. If you do nothing else, read the budget message. That discusses everything in detail. 108 pages of fun.
I already read it.
So that's a lot of work goes into that. So if you read nothing else, read that. You'll have an understanding of what they're asking for and
why.
what you need to really discuss during the workshops. Other than that, the significant revenue and expense items for the first half of October in the binder. If you have any questions for me, otherwise I'll report progress.
Thank you. President's business, I have nothing this evening. I do not need an executive session for any reason. No, I think that's it. I have nothing. So is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Barrett. Second? Second by Mr. Shubsta. Discussion. All those in favor? We have 7 ayes. We are adjourned at 8 p.m. Yeah, I do.